Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. So I stopped at Walmart today and like I told you last week, I bought a turkey from Food Lion with my grocery haul the day before Thanksgiving. But I wanted to cook it overnight and I have been wanting one of these countertop roasters, so I broke down and picked one up. I actually got it at Walmart. I picked it up at Walmart and it was $49.96. We're gonna do a box opening and check this out. So this is the roaster I picked up. It's the Aroma, and it says it'll hold a 22-pound turkey. The turkey I have is 13.72 pounds. So let's go ahead and get this thing opened up. If you have one of these and you like it, let me know. Add more bells and whistles. Curious, I've never had one of these. It's nice that it's got a rack that you can put your meat on and take it off. And I wanted one that had the removable insert so it's easy to clean. The controls look pretty straightforward. So we have a minimum temperature, which it doesn't tell you what it is. Then we have a keep warm, 150, 200, 250, defrost, 300, 350, 400, 450. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all washed up, get the turkey ready to go in here so it can cook overnight. Alright, so I've got some carrots, onions, celery, and garlic we're going to put in the bottom of the roasting pan before we put our turkey in there. I'm not even going to worry about the ends or anything. We're just going to chop up the vegetables. And we're going to lay it on top of the rack inside the roaster. I did rinse the vegetables. I'm not going to worry about peeling these carrots, cutting off the bottom ends, because any juices in this roaster, we're actually going to take the juice and the bones from the turkey and we're going to make a turkey stock with the scrap bag we have in the freezer. So I'm just going to cut the onions in quarters, half and then half again, and just put those in the roaster. I'm not going to worry about peeling these garlics. And we're going to cut them open, just cut them in half and lay it inside. Just strategically put it throughout the bottom of this pan. So let me know in the comments below if y'all were able to get a turkey on sale, how much you paid for yours. Now we're going to go ahead and rinse him off. Cold water. Right, so this is the roaster. It has the rack inside. I have the vegetables just strategically laid in here. I am going to be seasoning this turkey And I want the seasoning to be able to stick to it. So I am going to pat it dry. So because I was touching raw meat, and I want to put my fingers in my salt and pepper containers, I washed my hands. Please wash your hands before you touch anything after you touch raw meat. So I'm just keeping it simple because we're actually going to can this once it's done. So I'm just keeping the seasoning simple. So I got the aromatics underneath. I got the bird in here with just salt and pepper. And we'll put 2 bay leaves in here. Some of these are broken. Alright, so we're putting 3 bay leaves. I got a pint-sized mason jar. I'm just going to add 2 cups of water. And I got it set on, I have the roaster sitting on 250 degrees. We're just going to let that roast overnight. Check the temperature in the morning. I'm going to fast forward to tomorrow, and we're going to pick this up the next day. And we're back. The only thing I did change the only thing I changed after y'all left last night was I did turn the temperature to the roaster down to 200. Let it cook all night. So it cooked from 11 o'clock p.m. till 7 o'clock this morning at 200. Then when I got up at 7 o'clock, I turned it up to 300 and let it finish cooking. And within an hour, the little indicator thermometer popper thing came up and it's ready. So I have it turned on warm. And then we're going to turn it off and let it cool so we can handle it. So we can go ahead and get the meat off the bones. Okay, we went ahead and took our turkey out of the roaster. Okay, so in here we have all the aromatics that we cooked our turkey in. We're just going to leave it in here. And in this bag is our freezer scraps from vegetables, chicken bones. So we have the chicken bones from our Thanksgiving chicken, all of our vegetables, plus the backbone where we spatchcock the chicken. And we save our bags. We'll just stick this right back in the freezer and start collecting more. Now we have not put our turkey bones in here because we have not removed the meat from the turkey yet. Let's go ahead and get this thing filled up with water. I'm just filling it up with cold tap water. We're going to turn it on 300 till it starts to come up to a boil. Then we're going to reduce it to a simmer, which will be about 150 degrees. We're going to go ahead and get all the meat off of this turkey so we can get the bones in the roaster so we can go ahead and get it start cooking. We're going to go ahead and get that turkey stock going. So let me get all this off and I'll bring you right back and move on to the next step. Trying to debone a turkey, be careful of these cartilage because you do not want that in your jars, because if someone bites into that, it could hurt. So be very cautious of those. Depending on how much turkey I can get off of here will determine whether I'm going to freeze this or jar it. Alright, so we debone our whole entire turkey. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and put the turkey in the refrigerator until we're ready to deal with this. Now we're going to add the remainder of the bones and all the bits and pieces that are in here. Okay, so everything is in the roaster that we're going to be roasting to make our stock. But I do want to add a tablespoon of dried rosemary, a liberal amount of salt, and a liberal amount of pepper. Three bay leaves. Give that a stir. Building some beautiful color. We're going to put the lid on it, and we're just going to let that roast all day. I have it set on 350. Once it starts to simmer or start to boil, I'm going to turn it down to 200 and 150. Alright, it is boiling. Bone broth is doing exactly what it needs to do. Now I'm going to reduce it to 200. And if that's still too hot, reduce it to 150. I want it to just simmer slow all day long. So this is the turkey we cooked in the roaster overnight. The whole entire time was to put this in jars. I might have about 3-quart jars in this bowl. That is not enough for me to run the pressure canner. So I've changed my mind. I'm just going to go ahead and vacuum seal this and stick it in the freezer. As I told you before, a vacuum sealer is an investment. You will go days using it. You might go months not using it at all. Alright, so I'm just going to mix some of this dark and white meat. I'll put about maybe about 3 cups in each one of these. But before I seal it, I want to make sure we're going to get all of it done. And we have not a little bit left or a random weight. So I'll bring you right back. Our turkey, I just vacuum sealed them, and we ended up with 3 of those. And this is a 32-quart stock pot. I took out all the bones from the roaster over there. I didn't have anything big enough to put all the liquid in, so I had to bring this out. This is what I usually cook my stock in on the stove, but I wanted to give that thing a try. It's 32 quarts, and we're probably about a third. So we got about 10 quarts in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this come to room temperature, and then we're going to put it in the refrigerator so that the fat can solidify and it will be easy to remove. So it'll be little to no fat in our jars when we can it tomorrow. So we went ahead and took out the pot with the turkey broth in it out of the refrigerator. The fat has solidified a little bit on the top. So now we're going to go ahead and start scooping that out so we can heat it up and get it in jars. Just taking the spoon, skimming the top, trying to get the fat off without losing any of that delicious broth. We finish this, we're going to go ahead and put it on the stove to heat it up so we can get them in jars and get it. And I put it on the stove. It's in that pot right there. And I got it warming back up, I washed jars, bands, and lids. They're sitting in the sink right behind us in hot water. I had the canner on the stove with enough water in it for my brand. It is an All-American 921. It holds 7 quarts. So now that the broth is already warm, we're going to go ahead and start putting it in jars. I'm going to turn the stove down to just low, just to keep it warm, because I think it's going to take more than one canner load. And I have the canner on low because the water is already hot in there. I have an 8-cup measuring bowl right here. And because we are just canning broth, I'm putting them in the regular mouth mason jars. And the brand I love is the 4 jars canning lids. I have yet had a fail on these lids. Because we have no solids in here, we don't have to worry about debubbling. So we can actually just pour. We're going to go to a 1-inch headspace, which is that bottom band right there. We are hot packing, so our contents are hot, our jars are hot, and our canner is hot. So I'm taking some vinegar on my paper towel. I'm just wiping the rim, checking for any kind of nicks or cracks, and removing any kind of particles, or in this case, any kind of grease. A brand new canning lid. And a ring. Fingertip tight. Do not crank it. And now we're going to go in the canner. So this is the 7th jar. Going in the canner. There is an arrow right here lined up to this cutout. So I have the temperature up to medium. Now we need to crank it down. This particular brand has wing nuts. We have to put the wing nuts on opposite ends. Sorry, I'm in your way. Now we need to do a visual and make sure the gap between the lid and the base is even. And now we have to crank it down. Opposites. Crank, crank, crank. Got to wait till we get a steady stream of steam coming out of this vent. Once it's like freight train steaming, our timer starts. We gotta wait 10 minutes to put on our weight. And on the weight we have, I don't think you can see it, we have 10 pounds, 5 pounds, and 15 pounds. For my altitude, we are at 10 pounds of pressure. So then we have to put the weight on, and then this gauge will go up to 10, and the weight will start rocking. Just like this, just moving around, rocking. Once it starts rocking, that's where our timer starts. And we need to, for 25 minutes. All right, now we have full steam coming out. Can you see that? Now we're going to go ahead and start timing 10 minutes because we need it to vent for 10 minutes. Got the timer set for 10 minutes, and I'll bring you right back. Timing has ended. Now we're going to put our weight on. Like I said, I am at 10 pounds of pressure at my altitude. So that is on. Very slowly, this gauge will start rising to 10 pounds of pressure, and the weight will start jiggling, and I'll bring you back for the next step. Okay, as an update, we have got 5 pounds of pressure. We're waiting for it to get to 10. Alright, so we're almost at 10 pounds of pressure. Alright, so we have reached 10 pounds of pressure. And there it goes. It's the jiggling. So we want to regulate that jiggle. We don't want it to constantly whistle like it is right now. We want it to whistle 4 times a minute. So about every 15 seconds it needs to jiggle. So we're going to adjust the heat till we can reach that 4 jiggle a minute. Once we get it regulated, that is when our time starts. So it should jiggle, rest, jiggle, rest. Alright, so we're at that stage where it jiggles, rest. Our time starts now. 25 minutes. Okay, our 25 minutes is up. We're going to turn the stove off. We're going to let it naturally release, go back down to 0 before we take the weight off. So now we're on a wait until it gets back to 0 and naturally release. We do not want to force release this. We do not want to remove that while it's under pressure. It could be very damaging to the jars and the contents inside. So we're just going to leave it alone and let it naturally release back to 0, and then I'll bring you right back. Okay, our gauge is reading 0. Alright, so our pressure is down to 0. Let's go ahead and take our weight off. It is hot, so we're going to use a towel to remove it. Now we're going to go ahead and start removing the lid. Again, opposites, unscrew. Now it still has steam in it, so we're going to lift it up away from us. We're going to let it sit in there for 5 minutes, then we're going to go ahead and pull them out. I had a jar casualty. When I was taking the first jar out of the canner, my hand slipped off of this jar lifter. I went to go put it down and it slipped out of my hand and I broke a jar. That's 1 quart of turkey bone broth. I'm never going to get back. It was a casualty. On with the program. And every one of them sealed. Perfect. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish whatever broth we have left. And alright, so we are done. Out of that 1 turkey we had that we cooked in the roaster and then made bone broth from and removed all the meat from the bones before we did that, we ended up with 3 packages of turkey meat that will make great casseroles, great soups. We ended up with 8 quarts and 1 pint of turkey broth. We would have had 9. Who cans can, anybody who does home canning, you know the pain. I dropped one on the floor and broke it. So not only did I lose a jar, a lid, but I lost the contents in the jar, which is devastating. But we're going to move on. So I would have had 9 quarts and 1 pint. I'm gonna count that as 9 quarts, because had I not broke it, I would have had 9 quarts. So I got that turkey on sale at Food Lion when they were having their turkey sale, and I paid $5, and if I'm not mistaken, 35 cents. We'll say $5.50. I paid $5.50 for a turkey, and I got 3 meals right here, plus 8 quarts and 1 pint. I think that was a success. Now, if you want to get into canning, pressure canning, I was intimidated my whole entire life. Just been in the last 3 years, I think. And we all know what happened in 2020 that got me interested and determined to learn how to home can as well as pressure can. That's something you're interested in knowing how to do, but you're scared. I know the fear. I was there. But the canners they make today, I believe it's one called the Presto. It's more economical. And then I have the All-American. It's a huge investment. But the skills you can learn with the internet, Google, all the things, you can learn so much on knowing your altitude, knowing your pressure point, like how much pounds of pressure you need for your altitude, how long to process food, how to prepare the items to go in the jar and to preserve it, to have it shelf stable. I have faith in you. You can learn it. There's so many tutorials out there on how to do home preservation, and I hope this video gives you the courage you need to just bite the bullet and do it. So not only do I have delicious home preserved food, I now have things that I could put in the freezer, and I have things I could put on my shelf. So if you find anything of value in this video, please hit that like button. And if you would, while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. And I want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. And I hope you learned something. If you would, leave a comment below. Voice your fears about canning. People in this loving community that are there to answer your questions and to help. So, y'all have a wonderful day. And again, thank you. And until the next time, y'all have a wonderful day.